The clock is ticking down to the start of the men's triple mix. Something we've been looking forward to for 12 months here in Jersey. And Mario Mola always looks so calm and happy and smiley, doesn't he? He's just a fantastic character, so polite and so ready to talk to anyone, even when it's this close to a big race. But there's so much talent across the course of that pontoon. Great access for Annie Emerson. And if it's anything like the women's race, it's going to be gripping tactically, very aggressive, and Ali, as you said before, probably a little more aggressive than the women's racing.
Yeah, I think we can expect it to be more aggressive. I think especially, you know, a couple of the guys, obviously Johnny, I know what he's going to do pretty well, and Vince Louis, I think they're going to benefit from taking out hard early. They both swim well, they both ride well. They know they can make it hard and kind of get people out of the race by taking the very first one out aggressively. This is the course map. If you're just joining us, 150 out and then back on the swim. The bike and the run are on the same course, and it is lined right now by the entire population of the island of Jersey. Look for people to attack along Thunder Alley, the cobblestones at the back of the course. The wind has picked up though, without a doubt, and could buffet the lone riders out there. Bit of an explainer, triple mix is your classic swim, bike and run, and then a 10-minute break into a run, bike, swim, and then a pursuit style start where the athletes will pay for how far back they are from the leader with a bike, swim, run. Anyone that falls more than 90 seconds behind at any point at the end of each of the stages will not move on to the following stage. And I think Jonathan Brownlee has a point when he says that the lime green isn't the most fetching colour, but it won't matter once they get into the water. Not too long to go now. The start of the men's triple mix. 12 long months we've waited, and the people of Jersey have waited as well. They know exactly how brutal this is. We were here last year. Plenty of fast swimmers out there. Tyler Mislachuk was sick last year. He missed out, ended up losing 7 kilograms thanks to an infection he picked up in the previous weeks. So he watched from his hotel room. He'll be happy to be out there on the pontoon. Christian Blumenfeld ran back into transition to pick up a jar of Vaseline that he'd forgotten, and he's back down there in time. A moment of quiet before the action begins.
How good does this place look? Let's look at the sexy, isn't it? Jersey's looking very sexy today. Here we go. Starters' hands.
We're in the starters' hands.
Starters' hands! Music goes on.
We're off in the men's triple mix. A fast start from someone in the middle of the pack off the pontoon, but a clean one as well. And a washing machine down there in the still waters of the harbour here in St Helier. A little bit of consternation in the slot draw. Each athlete had to pick every other athlete's position on the pontoon, but there was some discussion, I suppose, on what is the most, I guess, the quickest way to reach the far buoy there, and we're splitting into two little groups, and someone's getting away. What would you pick if you could pick a position on the pontoon?
I probably would have picked the inside line. It's the shortest line, and you know you're going to get to that first buoy and get around it. That said, you know if you're on the outside, you've probably got more clear water. But just looking, Johnny was actually third from the furthest point there, and he was surrounded by other swimmers who aren't necessarily that good swimmers, and you don't really want that either because they tend to drag you back. Someone's got a flying start there. I don't know who that is at the front of the race, but I mean they've almost got clear water behind them straight away with everyone else penned together. We'll see once we go around the buoy probably who these people are in the first few. We'll be able to recognise them. Got a good shot of Johnny there actually, and I think that's Tyler Mislachuk there, who is swimming really tactically bad. You know, he's slowing both of them down there actually. If he pulled wide and actually swam behind Johnny, they'd probably just get straight to the front. One of the things that is really frustrating when you're racing. So around that first buoy is the blue jersey. It's Henry, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Henry Schumann.
Yeah, so he's already got clear water behind him, and pretty much everyone else back in that pack are kind of fighting a bit, and they're not making great headroom. And Henry's away right from the gun there. You can see as we go back, you can definitely.
The red jersey right at the back of the field.
Yeah, red jersey right. But Richard Murray isn't renowned for his swimming. And you know, from a start like that, it'd be pretty hard for him as we move up the group here. And this is fantastic swimming shots, you know, really, really close to the athletes, just what you want to see. That's Ben Canute there, and he's in 4th place. That's Vincent Louis. You'd expect him to be in closer water to the front, and he's there in 2nd. in a great position. I'm not sure who he's fighting with around the buoy. So the kind of people who would expect to be in the first few here.
Henry Schuman's been swimming magnificent all season. He's going to be the first athlete, it looks like, here to capitalise on the short shoot. We saw that in the women's race. He's a magnificent bike rider, technically very good. He runs very well.
Yeah, one of the first to lead wire to wire, and he did that in Abu Dhabi. I think the second man ever in WTS racing to do that. So he's seen himself be biked down and potentially run down in many races over the years, and he's worked very, very hard on that. Took out the Commonwealth Games gold medal. And in the absence of Richard Varga, who is injured at the moment, he is the superfish, the Slovakian. Henry Schumann will lead us out of the water, and he will likely take, barring a mishap up the very steep ramp, the first of the short shoots. Matt can just explain quickly to us, we haven't had a chance to do so, what the short shoot means.
The short shoot rewards the leading athlete in each one of the disciplines. So first person out of the water who runs past the line at the top of this ramp will get a shortcut going into the next discipline. First person off the bike will also enjoy that shortcut. So Henry is going to capitalise on that and get a free run through transition.
Henry wearing the blue jersey, as we mentioned. That means he had the fastest swim split last time out in Jersey. The red is Christian Blumenfeld, the fastest runner, and Johnny was the quickest on the bike, as he said. But Henry Schumann is living up to his name for sure in the blue, leading in the swim. He'll get the short shoot. Vince Louis, who finished second in the WTS overall, ahead of Igor Polyansky, and then Ben Canute, who...
It's going to be interesting to see what Henry decides to do tactically here. He's going to get the short shoot. He's going to get that advantage. Does he push on and go on? You know, it's only a 4-lap bike now. He can push on and maybe cruise the run a bit more, or does he decide to wait and just take a 20-second kind of breather as he waits for the rest of the pack to catch him up?
Well, he was very unlucky last year, if you remember. He started very well in stage 1 last year. It was wet conditions. He had a crash early in the bike ride, and it's put him out of the race. So
it's messed that up a bit. I think that's quite tight, that corner. It didn't. You know, Vincent Louis, very clinical transition as you'd expect, to be honest, and that's Polyansky. I think he might struggle on this.
He's gone up the wrong side there. One rider's gone up the wrong side of the barrier. I think that was Vince Louis, so he's made a big mistake, and he's going to find himself at a dead end there. So we could see Vince Louis be in some trouble.
Oh, he's back on the
taking
course.
He's back on the course, but he's gone down the wrong chute. He's done a little Jake Burt whistle there from last year's racing. But Henry Schumann at the front, we saw the blue jersey of Sophie Caldwell find herself in the same position, and she decided to go it alone. And I think later on in the triple mix it hurt her a little bit. She got caught up, and you've really got to think about how long this racing is and how short those breaks are.
But it is an interesting one, actually. You know, drafting doesn't give you as much an advantage as it definitely would in a traditional triathlon. It's tight, it's technical, there's lots of crosswinds, there's not very much straight road where you can really get on the wheel. So, you know, it's not as clear-cut as you might expect, and you don't get the advantage from sitting in a pack at all. You know, it's never going to be more than one abreast. The course is just too narrow, and so you don't get that big draft advantage. So I think he knows it. He's technically good. He's going to ride this, and you know, even if he's not riding max, he's riding at a good tempo, and he knows he's safe, he's out of trouble, and he's going to get through this race without mishap.
He's a bit of a front runner, Henry. He likes to be out on his own. He seems to find his own lines through the corners. I think he can take some consolidation in the fact that he's got some space, and he's a magnificent runner. So he can set himself up for the next 3 stages, cruise through this event if possible, and be very, very good for the stage that matters, stage 3.
Yeah, we'll see now as they come through transition if the guys behind them are getting organised, or how much they're pushing, who's on the front. Vincent's back on the front and back in the race. He's just round that dead turn at the bottom transition here, and I think he's pretty much cruising. He's safe. He knows he's in a really good, strong position, and there's nothing risky. That's Vincent Louis in second place, safely back on the course and moving. Ben Canute.
He's done it again.
He's done it again, the same thing, and he's put his hand up again.
He overcooks that corner, and he comes too wide, and he stays on that inside line, goes through the finish line. And
he's finished twice already, Vince Louis, but then he finds himself somehow back on the front. He put his hand up to say sorry for leading everyone down there again for a second time. So let's see if he works it out by 3. Our man, Oliver Turner, the local hope, the 20-year-old, is back in 17th position. Jake Birtwistle is in 21st position at the moment, so he hasn't had a great swim. He's got plenty of work to do.
Richard Murray actually had a great swim there. He sat in the top 4 or 5, and so he had a really good swim. I think that must have been, he must have had a good position there on the inside, and it's a good swimmers to pull him up, so that worked well for him. You can see, so there's that second pack with those guys, and the third guy's pack with Johnny in the front, and he's not getting any help from the other guys in that pack who aren't as good cyclists. So this race is splitting up already with pretty much a 40-second split across the field. So this shows that it is being raced pretty aggressively.
Ben Canute, what a season he's had. He's the only 70.3 athlete in the series, and you raced him a couple of weeks ago in South Africa. He finished 4th over there, and now he's racing this super sprint racing and right there amongst the best in the world.
Yeah, he's proved himself to be a really good, versatile athlete. Great over the 70.3 distance, you know, good over the shorter World Series stuff, and good over this. He's a good all-round athlete. You know, his run isn't his strength, but he's a really good, solid swimmer. He's a great bike rider, you know, both in terms of the long distance stuff and this shorter stuff, and technically good. And I think he's just a real racer. I think he enjoys the race. Henry here he's in the perfect position. You know, he's in cruise mode here, and they've blocked that entrance up to the finish. So hopefully the same mistake can't be made again.
Let's see if he can bunny hop that one and make it up the finishing line again. We have had confirmation from the head marshal that, in fact, that is allowed, and he won't incur any penalty, Vince Louis, for the mistake he made by going down the finishing
Christian
line.
Blumenfeld coming through the field there. That's important. You know, he came out the swim, I think, outside the top 20, so he's moving through the field well, and that's what he needs to do. But Mario Mola there, was that Mario at the back of that group?
I think it was,
yeah. So, or maybe Piera. So, you know, this is splitting up straight away, and it's making interesting racing, and that's because Henry's been aggressive. Well, I don't think he's probably actually riding that hard here. I think he's allowing himself to pick his own lines around the corners. He's riding very, very safely but fast at the same time, and he's not being affected by anyone else around. And it's a lack of accumulative fatigue that could be the big thing for Henry. He's been able to take his time, control his effort, and he looks just so much more comfortable out in front. It can be a little bit hairy going through those corners in big groups. It's very, very tight, especially on this next corner coming up, the 2 right-handers. Yeah, and of course, when he comes into transition at the end of the 4th lap, he's going to have the short shoot again, so he's got another advantage. So once you're out in front, it really rewards the aggressive racing, and he's really making the most of it. He's a magnificent runner.
He is a magnificent runner. He's worked very hard on his run over the course of the last couple of years, and he's run his way to victory a couple of times as well. He held a 11-second advantage last time over Vincent Louis through transition, and we'll see whether he's managed to put any more time into the Frenchman. Richard Murray moved up into 3rd position behind, in front of, Ben Canute, and then Jonathan Brownlee in the lime green. You can't miss him, but Henry Schoeman just, as you say, staying comfortable and knowing he's got one more lap to go. He'll have another short shoot advantage onto the run, and I think the run probably gives you the greatest advantage in terms of the short shoot, and you can see Christian Blumenfeld there. He doesn't like being too
He's
far
actually
back
quite
in the pack.
a long way back here, you know. I can't see the splits really come through, but the other thing to note there was that this is the young British guy, Alex Yee, there, who's kind of coming back through the field.
With Mario Mola.
Yeah, Mario Mola. There. Like I said, Igor Polyansky, he knows his biking isn't his strong point, especially on technical courses, so he's moving back through the field here as well.
Of course, every second that they finish behind here at the end of the 1st stage of the triple mix will be paid in the 3rd stage. Your accumulated gaps across stage 1 and 2 will be paid in a pursuit start in stage 3, and anyone who falls more than 90 seconds behind. We saw it in the women's race, even at the 1st stage of the triple mix, there were women who didn't come through into the 2nd stage because they finished more than 90 seconds back, so we'll keep an eye on that. But right now, Henry Schoeman at the front will be arriving in Thunder Alley soon enough, and he'll know that it's time to hop off and get the short shoot onto the run. And we know how strong he has become on the run, as Jonathan Brownlee is at the back of a pack of about maybe 6 or 7 in a chasing group, and Christian Blumenfeld now up into 8th and working very, very hard.
That's a desperate chase, really, from Christian. We saw last year he was able to close the gap late. We've got one less bike loop this year, which makes it a little bit more difficult. There's one loop getting his shoes in, one loop taking them out, so he can be put in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, I think he is, and we're really seeing the kind of top guys rise straight to the top here as well, with that group of 5 guys who are working together behind Henry, and obviously Christian's doing what he's doing best and trying to get back to the front, but it's actually quite a big act for him here. Yeah, great clinical transition. Of course, he does have the short shoot to use now, which is, I think, probably even a bigger advantage for him now. You know, he's got 3 50 metres on the run, which is just worth so much, and transitions themselves are worth a lot in this situation.
The mental gains from knowing that you've got the short shoot coming out of transition must be fantastic as well, just to know that you're getting a little bit of a bonus and you've worked for and it's paid off, and he knows he's going to have 50, 60, 70 metres over the course of the rest of the field. And Richard Murray, Vincent Louis, so much talent at the top end of this field. Jonathan Brownlee and Blumenfeld now up into 5th, ahead of Ben Canute and Hayden Wild, and who's having a a fantastic run.
I think the top guys, the guys in that group with Johnny, Richard Murray, and I think they sat up on that last lap, and that's why Christian Blumenfeld's got that time back. You know, he's suddenly got 10 seconds back, and that only happens if people slow up. You see Leo Berger and Mario Mola back there now. He's got a lot of work to do. Alex Yee moving up on the outside. He's absolutely incredible runner, and he'll be wanting to make the most of that strength here.
Yeah, Alex Yee faster than Mo Farah, if you know Mo Farah from, well, Olympic fame for Team GB. He was faster than Mo Farah at the same age as when Mo was the same age as Alex Yee. Alex has got him, and he's the British national 10,000 metre title holder as well. Yeah,
well, Henry's got a big lead here. This could be 20 seconds, which is a long way, but of course it all comes down to that last race, and he's got to be able to hold on to it. Christian Blumenfeld's moving through the field, and I think we're seeing it separate up even more in this stage of the race, which just shows how quickly it's been raced. You know, these gaps are appearing even between the top guys and outside the top 10. You know, we're seeing these guys already that must be more than a minute down now.
Looks very comfortable, Henry Schoeman, as he has a little look behind him, and you can't see anyone at this point. He's put more time into him through each transition and through each leg as it stands, having led out on the swim, and now he has a significant advantage over Vincent Louis, who's made a couple of tactical errors ahead of Richard Murray, Jonathan Brownlee and Christian Blumenfeld, who doesn't look like the smoothest runner, but having a 50% VO2 max advantage over the rest of the field in terms of his air intake. Just genetically wonderful, Christian Blumenfeld, in terms of his engine. He knows how to get painful and stay there.
And his ability to accelerate out of the corners. We saw that last year. He had the advantage over Johnny, especially in those corners. He came out, he put a body length or two into Johnny, and that really won him the race last year. He's moving up now.
I think that is the thing to say about Christian. It's all about his engine. You know, incredible physical engine like that. It doesn't look pretty. It's technically not great necessarily, but obviously incredible engine and just incredible guts. He absolutely gives it all, like you can see. And this is an interesting run course. All the corners, the stopping and starting, the slightly different surfaces that you're running on, the bumps and the slight up and down means that it's not just a pure how fast can I run on a flat kind of track race. It's quite varied, which is a slightly different type of running, to be fair. You can see it's really, Henry's in a great position, and it's splitting these guys behind. Christian Blumenfeld's moving through the field on his way to try and catch Vincent Louis there, and Richard Murray has been dropped off the back on the run. I don't think many people would have expected to see that. Hayden Wild's having a great race there.
Hayden Wild is having a great race. In terms of experience and resume, he lacks a little in terms of the men in front of him, but I have to say Hayden Wild, two-time Xterra under-19 world champion. His bike handling skills has helped him stay in touch with the rest of the field. You can see him there, number 53, ahead of behind Richard Murray, Brownlee, Blumenfeld and Vincent Louis in a little group there. With 1 lap left on the run in the first stage of this triple mix. They'll have a 10-minute period to recover.
You've got a choice at this point in this race. You know, do you absolutely destroy yourself a potentially 4 or 5 second gap, or do you not? And that's the big luxury that Henry's got here, I think. You know, he can afford to cruise it. He knows he's going to have that gap. He can afford to lose 5 seconds on this last K now, which is a lot easier in terms of the physiology of running that. And he's got that big advantage over the rest of them that he's going to carry into the other races, as well as a time bonus for the last one.
We certainly saw, if you have the chance to just step off the pedal a little bit towards the end, how short that time is to recover. You've experienced it before. Basically, you're coming in and you literally, no time to warm down, go straight back and set your bike up again.
Absolutely. I think it is. When you're talking about fine margins like this at the top, you know, the difference between potentially running a 250k or a 245k is enormous, you know, absolutely massive. And I think he's doing that. That said, those guys behind him, I'm pretty sure they've run faster. You know, they weren't that close on that first lap, so they've taken some time out of him, but he looks pretty relaxed. I think he knows what he's doing, and like we said, he knows he can afford to lose a bit of seconds and carry a bit of energy into the later legs.
Johnny was very, very clever there. You saw him jump on the back of Christian Blumenfeld. He's basically said this train's going to the front. We're going to move away from Richard Murray, who's been so dominant in this style of racing, and this could set this up at stage 2. Remember, it's the cumulative time to go into stage 3 that gives the advantage, and when you alienate an athlete like Richard Murray, it pays dividends later.
Let's not forget that they have to run again straight off the top of the second stage, so having that little bit in the tank, as Henry Schoeman looks like he does at the moment. He's got a very efficient running style, as does Vince Louis, especially when you compare him to the little engine that can. Christian Blumenfeld, who isn't as efficient as he could be, but he doesn't need to be because he knows how to fight his way to the front. But Henry Schoeman, who I guess in some ways is a little bit the silent assassin. He doesn't say too much, and he doesn't need to. He lets his racing do the job.
He's led from the first stroke of the swim. He's able to be very, very controlled, and like you said, Ali, he can switch off a little bit now, put things in reserve, and that could be the deciding thing come later in the day.
I think he is actually running pretty hard, though. I'm not sure how much he's left in reserve, and he keeps looking behind him. I think if you were going to time trial this, you would do it. You'd do it without looking behind you, and you just get on and do it. I think we're seeing Christian Blumenfeld was trying to make a pass there.
He doesn't know how not to make a pass.
He doesn't, does he?
It's not going to make any difference.
No, it's going to make no. In fact, you're just basically costing yourself a bit of energy for no time whatsoever.
But that's the beauty of Christian Blumenfeld, no doubt whatsoever. He won 5 or 6 stages when he didn't need to, but he just wanted to.
Let's see if he takes Vincent Louis here.
So this time is down to less than 10 seconds now.
Is he going to?
Yeah, of course he is.
Of course he is.
He's going for the sprint.
Yes.
Yeah.
Second, third, and fourth. It doesn't matter. They all finish on the same time. Vincent Louis, Jonathan Brownlee, Christian Blumenfeld, Richard Murray comes in a little bit behind. Hayden Wild, who
great race,
has had a great race, and he has a little pump of the fist too. Announces himself ahead of the world champion, who's fighting with Alex Yee. And Alex, such a great runner, as we mentioned. What a moment for him to finish behind the 3-time and reigning world champion Mario Mola.
Look for him in the next race. If he's going to do anything, he'll open up this first run in the next race.
Yeah, I think so. He's got that big chance when he starts with this run here, and to get on that, to get the little time advantage coming off it. And this race is blown apart already with Alex Yee down in 8th, 30 seconds down, and there's Jake Birtwistle finishing outside the top 10.
Yeah, it's going to be hard for someone like Jake Birtwistle to find his way back into this one. Of course, all this time is going to hurt them in stage 3. João Pereira, Igor Polyansky cross the line, Jonas Schomburg, Sylvain Friedelans just behind Andreas Schilling there as well, and we're going to have to keep an eye on that 90-second mark.
And just seeing, I mean, it's right in front of where we're just seeing a few guys have been taken out, including the local lad Ollie Turner, and Taylor Reid from Canada been taken out as well. So, I mean, there's 4 or 5 guys just there who have been taken out because of the 90-second rule on this very first race.
Yeah, even before the race has finished, Mauro Cavagna, the Brazilian 2-time national champion, as Jaden Schofield, one of the 2 identical twins, just making life hard for us out here in the commentary, crosses the line. Second and third they were in the Oceania Sprint Champs.
So now they've got the 10 minutes between 2 back-to-back runs. I mean, I think this is probably the most important rest they're going to get in this. The running is the toughest, physically hardest bit.
All right, we're going to throw down now to Annie Emerson, who has Henry Schoeman. We'll find out how easy he actually did do it, Annie.
Well, Henry, this is just the very start of the weekend, but you made that look pretty easy.
Yeah, it was pretty tough. I actually surprised myself in the swim. I think I might have fractured something in my elbow in the week leading up, so I was really scared about pulling in the water, and I think it was just the adrenaline that got me off there, and really happy to lead out the whole race.
Well, you made a couple of athletes have to work very hard. Christian Blumenfeld was back in about 20th position. Mario Mola way back as well. Did you expect that?
I wasn't really looking at positions. I was just focusing on my own race and doing the best I can, so everyone else is hurting out there, and I thought, well, hurt myself out in front.
Okay, good luck. Go and get yourself warmed up for the next one.
It looks like everyone who crossed the line that we saw, Jaden Schofield finished 1 minute and 29 seconds back, meaning he was 1 second ahead of the cut-off mark. He wouldn't have known that at the time, but he's gotten lucky there, just like Elena Danilova got unlucky at 1 minute 32 seconds back, but plenty of people won't take part. He was 19th, and anyone below 19th will not move forward into stage 2. Let's have a look at the highlights right now, and there is Henry Schoeman in the blue swim jersey, dealing obviously with what he thinks is a fracture in his elbow in terms of pulling in the water. Let's see if that adrenaline, now it starts to wear off a little bit, doesn't hurt him a little bit. Vince Louis was second out of the water, made a mistake, but the short chute belonged to Henry Schoeman, who had a little bit of a look around him 3 or 4 times, but managed to hold off the chasing pack, and plenty of talent in there too to take out stage 1. But that is just a third of the way through this triple mix, and plenty of things can change, as we saw in the women's race.
And after all that, he only ended up with an 8-second advantage on these guys. So, it's really not much. Going into that final round, that could be 1 lap on the bike.
And interestingly, our 3 jerseys are there.
We just got to jump in there because I think Annie has managed to track down Christian Blumenfeld, who couldn't help himself running into second position.
Christian, you gave yourself a little bit of work to do on the swim, didn't you? Or after the swim?
Yeah, no. I knew it's really hard, like having that opening 100-meter sprint. So I knew that I would be a little bit back, and I had to work myself up on the bike. So it was okay. Like I had to work really hard on the bike to catch the front group, and yeah, it felt good. So, but still, I think Henry had like 5-6 seconds on us now. So we'll have to work hard now.
It is a little bit about conserving energy, but you couldn't help but push yourself to the front towards the end of that stage, or that leg rather.
Well, yeah, you can't lose too much on the first stage. So yeah, hopefully I have a little bit left from the next one. This one will be really important to not lose any time, and obviously the last one will be more like a time trial, I guess.
How easy is it going to be to run down Henry? He looks in great form.
Yeah, I guess he also got like a few shortcuts, so without the shortcuts it will probably be easier to. So maybe it will be important to get first into the bike now to get like that advantage.
Good luck for the next stage.
Well, thank you very much.